Hi Year 2, I hope you're okay. This week in English we are looking back at George's Marvellous Medicine and we're going to do lots of sentence work this week, putting into practice the grammar skills we learnt last week. So hopefully this week we'll do lots of fabulous writing and I'm looking forward to seeing it already. Have a great week Year 2, bye!
Let's just go over what we're going to be doing each day in our English lessons this week. Today we're going to be describing George collecting all of those ingredients and we're going to read chapter 3, so make sure you listen very carefully to what he collects. Tomorrow we're going to be learning about coordinating conjunctions and on Wednesday we're going to learn about subordinating conjunctions. On Thursday we're going to put our conjunction work into practice by writing sentences, and on Friday we're going to be describing Grandma taking the medicine, and I'm super excited because I know how creative you're going to be with that piece of work. We're going to read chapter 3 of George's Marvellous Medicine. While you're listening, see if you can take a mental note or jot them down, all the verbs and adverbs that you can hear in the story, because we might need to use them later in the lesson. Remember, a verb is a doing word and an adverb is a word that describes the verb. Chapter 3. George begins to make the medicine. George took an enormous saucepan out of the cupboard and placed it on the kitchen table. "George," came the shrill voice from the next room. "What are you doing?" "Nothing, Grandma," he called out. "You needn't think I can't hear you just because you closed the door. You're rattling the saucepans." "I'm just tidying the kitchen, Grandma." Then there was silence. George had absolutely no doubts whatsoever about how he was going to make his famous medicine. He wasn't going to fool about wondering whether to put in a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Quite simply, he was going to put in everything he could find. There would be no messing about, no hesitating, no wondering whether a particular thing would knock the old girl sideways or not. The rule would be this: whatever he saw, if it was runny or powdery or gooey, in it went. Nobody had ever made a medicine like that before. If it didn't actually cure Grandma, then it would anyway cause some exciting results. It would be worth watching. George decided to work his way round the various rooms one at a time and see what they had to offer. He would go first to the bathroom. There are always lots of funny things in the bathroom. So upstairs he went, carrying the enormous two-handled saucepan before him. In the bathroom he gazed longingly at the famous and dreaded medicine cupboard. But he didn't go near it. It was the only thing in the entire house he was forbidden to touch. He had made solemn promises to his parents about this, and he wasn't going to break them. There were things in there, they had told him, that could actually kill a person, and although he was out to give Grandma a pretty fiery mouthful, he didn't really want a dead body on his hands. George put the saucepan on the floor and went to work. Number 1 was a bottle labelled Golden Gloss Hair Shampoo. He emptied it into the pan. "That ought to wash her tummy nice and clean," he said. He took a full tube of toothpaste and squeezed out the whole lot of it in one long worm. "Maybe that will brighten up those horrid brown teeth of hers," he said. There was an aerosol can of superfoam shaving soap belonging to his father. George loved playing with aerosols. He pressed the button and kept his finger on it until there was nothing left. A wonderful mountain of white foam built up in the giant saucepan. With his fingers he scooped out the contents of a jar of vitamin-enriched face cream. In went a small bottle of scarlet nail varnish. "If the toothpaste doesn't clean her teeth," George said, "then this will paint them as red as roses." He found another jar of creamy stuff labelled hair remover. "Smear it on your legs," it said, "and allow to remain for 5 minutes." George tipped it all into the saucepan. There was a bottle with yellow stuff inside it called Dishworth's famous dandruff cure. In it went. There was something called Brilident for cleaning false teeth. There was white powder. In that went too. He found another aerosol can. "Nevermore Ponking Deodorant Spray. Guaranteed," it said, "to keep away unpleasant body smells for a whole day." She could use plenty of that, George said, as he sprayed the entire canful into the saucepan. Liquid Paraffin, the next one was called. It was a big bottle. He hadn't the faintest idea what it did to you, but he poured it in anyway. That, he thought, looking around him, was about all from the bathroom. On his mother's dressing table in the bedroom, George found yet another lovely aerosol can. It was called Helga's Hair Set. Hold hold 12 inches away from the hair and spray lightly. He squirted the whole lot into the saucepan. He did enjoy squirting those aerosols. There was a bottle of perfume called Flowers of Turnips. It smelled of old cheese. In it went. And in too went a large round box of powder. It was called Pink Plaster. There was a powder puff on top, and he threw that in as well for luck. He found a couple of lipsticks. He poured the greasy red things out of their little cases and added them to their mixture. The bedroom had nothing more to offer, so George carried the enormous saucepan downstairs again and trotted into the laundry room, where the shelves were full of all kinds of household items. The first one he took down was a large box of super white for automatic washing machines. Dirt, it said, will disappear like magic. George didn't know whether Grandma was automatic or not, but she certainly was a dirty old woman. So she'd better have it all, he said, tipping in the whole box full. Then there was a big tin of Waxwell floor polish. It removes filth and foul messes from your floor and leaves everything shiny bright, it said. George scooped the orange-coloured waxy stuff out of the tin and plonked it into the pan. There was a round cardboard carton labelled flea powder for dogs. Keep well away from the dog's food, it said, because this powder, if eaten, will make the dog explode. Good, said George, pouring it all into the saucepan. He found a box of canary seed on the shelf. Perhaps it'll make the old bird sing, he said, and in it went. Next, George explored the box with shoe cleaning materials, brushes and tins and dusters. Well now, he thought, Grandma's medicine is brown, so my medicine must also be brown or she'll smell a rat. The way to colour it, he decided, would be with brown shoe polish. The large tin he chose was labelled dark tan. Splendid. He scooped it all out with an old spoon and plopped it into the pan. He would stir it up later. On his way back to the kitchen, George saw a bottle of gin standing on the sideboard. Grandma was very fond of gin. She was allowed to have a small nip of it every evening. Now he would give her a treat. He would pour in the whole bottle. He did. Back in the kitchen, George put the huge saucepan on the table and went over to the cupboard that served as a larder. The shelves were bulging with bottles and jars of every sort. He chose the following and emptied them one by one into the saucepan. A tin of curry powder, a tin of mustard powder, a bottle of extra hot chilli sauce, a tin of black peppercorns, a bottle of horseradish sauce. There, he said aloud, that should do it. George, came the screechy voice from the next room. Who are you talking to in there? What are you doing? Nothing, Grandma. Absolutely nothing, he called back. Is it time for my medicine yet? No, Grandma, not for about half an hour. Well, just see you don't forget it. I won't, Grandma, George answered. I promise I won't. Today we're going to be writing a description using actions. To be successful, we need to be using verbs and adverbs in our writing, use the suffixes ed in our writing, think carefully about the sentences you are writing, do they make sense? And also we're going to use the correct punctuation in our writing. Let's gather a list of verbs from the story. I have got on my screen a table. On this side we're going to write all the verbs from the story. And on this side we're going to think of adverbs to describe how that action was performed. What verbs did you hear in the story? Tell the screen now. That's a brilliant one at the back. I really like that one, great memory. Yes, that's a fantastic verb, well done Year 2. Let's make a list of all the verbs that we heard in the story. Emptied. George emptied the entire bottle of shampoo into his medicine. Squeezed. George squeezed the entire tube of toothpaste. Pressed. George pressed the button on his father's shaving soap. Scooped. George scooped out the vitamin-enriched face cream. Tipped. He tipped in the hair remover. sprayed. George sprayed the deodorant into the medicine. George poured in the liquid paraffin, even though he didn't know what it was going to do to Grandma. George squirted all of the hairspray into the mixture. He threw in Mum's powder. He poured the lipsticks out of the cases and in they went too. He trotted into the laundry room. Trotted is another way of saying you've walked somewhere. Plonked. George plonked the shoe polish into the medicine. Look at our verbs. What suffix do most of them end with? That's right, most of them end with the ed suffix. But what do you notice about the word through? Through is the past tense of the word throw. When we want to write throw in the past tense, we don't write throwed. Throwed is incorrect. We change the word throw to through. And through is the past tense of throw. Now we have our list of verbs. Let's think about some adverbs to describe how George did all of those verbs. We could have ones like angrily. If he doesn't like Grandma, he might angrily spray the deodorant into the pan. He might tip the contents of the powder in cheerfully because he's excited about the effects of the medicine on Grandma. He might squirt liquid paraffin in cautiously because remember, he doesn't know what the liquid paraffin does. Pause the video here, Year 2, and have a think of what other adverbs we could use to describe how these verbs are performed. Come back when you're ready and share your answers with me. That's a brilliant one at the back. That's a fantastic one over here. Great adverb for that verb. Okay, I love your ideas, Year 2. Let's add to our list together. So we could have happily. Happily means the same thing as cheerfully, really. It's a synonym. It means the same thing. George might scoop the face cream out carefully so he doesn't drop a bit. He might have plonked the bottle of horseradish in the medicine loudly. Or he might have done it quietly so that Grandma didn't hear what he was up to. If he heard Grandma coming, he might have tipped the tin of black peppercorns in quickly. Or, if they were going to be really messy, he might have done it slowly. Now, because George loves pressing the buttons on an aerosol, he may have pressed the button joyously. And joyously is another synonym for happily and cheerfully. Maybe he scooped the shoe polish in wildly. What do you notice about all of our adverbs? Yes, they all end in ly. And do you remember we did lots of work on this last Monday? So you should be super good at your adverbs today. Before we begin our writing, can you think of the ingredients that George collected for his medicine? Pause the video now and have a little think. When you've got at least 5, tell the screen what they are. Yes, I remember that one too. And the hairspray and the chili powder. Well done over there. What did he have? Yes, he had that. Yes, he had shaving foam, didn't he? Anything else we collected? Shoe polish. Don't forget the shoe polish and the... What was that over there? The gin. Fantastic. Now year 2, what I have done is just written down a few ingredients that we're going to use in this piece of writing together. And what I'll do at the end is I'll put a whole list of ingredients on the board for you, ready for when you do your writing. So let's write a piece of work together, a descriptive piece of writing using verbs and adverbs of George collecting his ingredients for his medicine. And we're going to make sure that we use lots of description in our sentences as well. I'm going to begin my sentence with a time adverbial. First. First, George tiptoed into the bathroom. Full stop. He grabbed the curvy, yellow bottle of golden gloss hair shampoo and let's go back to our verbs. What verb could I use? And he squeezed, and what adverb should I have? Joyously squeezed, and he joyously squeezed. How much did he squeeze in? Yeah, the entire lot. The entire, that means all, the entire bottle into the silver, metal saucepan. Okay, let's read it back through. First, George tiptoed into the bathroom. He grabbed the curvy yellow bottle of golden gloss hair shampoo and he joyously squeezed the entire bottle into the silver metal saucepan. Oh, I love it, year 2. Let's write the next set of sentences together again. I've already written this time adverbial and the verb. Next, George grabbed the... Have a think. Which ingredient is he going to grab next? Let's have a think, have a look down the list. We've got golden gloss hair shampoo, toothpaste, shaving soap, face cream, nail varnish, hair remover, dandruff cure, Brilliant Falls teeth, Nevermore Ponking deodorant spray, liquid paraffin, Helga's hair set, perfume or lipstick. Can you pick the next ingredient? Tell the screen now. Great choice. Most people have said super foam shaving soap. So that is going to be our next ingredient. Okay, year 2. Now I need you to pick a verb and an adverb from the list here to explain how George put the shaving foam into the medicine. So pause the video here, have a look, have a think which verb and which adverb goes together nicely. Okay, tell the screen now. I love the idea over there. Girls, that's a super idea. Boys, that's fantastic. I really like the verbs you have said. Most people have said sprayed, cheerfully. Let's go for those two. He cheerfully sprayed. When you're writing verbs and adverbs in your sentences, you might think to yourself, where do I put the adverb? Does it go before or after the verb? Truth is, It can go either before or after the verb, but it just needs to make sense in a sentence. So if you're not sure, try both ways and decide which one sounds right. So how much do we want George to cheerfully spray into the saucepan? The entire can? Are you sure? Okay. He cheerfully sprayed. We've already used entire in our last sentence though, didn't we? Here. What's a different word for entire? If you use all of it, you use the whole. Great answer. He cheerfully sprayed the whole can into the saucepan. Exclamation mark at the end. Let's put one more ingredient in. Here's my next time adverbial, then, he. What's he going to put in this time? Have a look at the list. What could he put in this time? Tell me when you're ready. I like your ideas. Scarlet nail varnish. What verb shall we use to explain how George will put the scarlet nail varnish into the medicine? Tipped. Great idea. How will he tip it? Pick an adverb to explain how George will tip the nail varnish into the medicine. Wildly. I hope he doesn't get any on the carpet. Then he tipped scarlet nail varnish into the silver saucepan. Wildly. Okay, let's read it back through. Does it make sense? Next, George grabbed the super foam shaving soap. He cheerfully sprayed the whole can into the saucepan. Then he tipped scarlet nail varnish into the silver saucepan wildly. Let's check our writing against the steps to success. Did I use verbs and adverbs in my sentences? Yes. Did I use the ed suffix in my writing? Yes. Did I think carefully about the sentences I was writing? Yes. Did I use correct punctuation in my writing? Yes. Today's learning challenge is to write a descriptive piece of writing that uses actions, so verbs and adverbs, about George collecting all of his ingredients for his grandma's medicine. Use the steps to success to make sure you are successful today. Now, when you're writing your piece of work, you don't need to use all of the ingredients because I didn't in my piece of writing. Choose your favourite ones, but make sure that you do use verbs and adverbs in your writing. And remember, all the verbs are in past tense because we're writing about how George collected all of his ingredients for his medicine. Good luck, Year 2, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your work later on today. Bye!